Fishing Obsessed podcast. We'll be sitting down with a fresh guest each week. Someone who shares the same kayak fishing passion that runs through our veins. We're talking kayak anglers, kayak companies, lure experts. Heck, anyone who's got a story to tell about landing the big ones from a kayak. We're setting our sights on becoming the #1 kayak fishing podcast in the world. You'll get a chuckle, a grin, and hey, maybe even a belly laugh. Because we believe in the power of humor. But above all, we're here to educate and inspire. So, whether you're a seasoned kayak angler or just dipping your toes into this exhilarating world, join us on the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. It's time to reel in adventure, camaraderie, and the joy of the catch. Here's your host, Daren Wendell.
What's up, you fish freaks? Welcome to podcast episode number 63 of the KFO show, brought to you by, well, my YouTube channel at Wendell Fishing. Guys, over 1,100 videos now. I do daily shorts, daily community posts. We got this weekly podcast and 1 to 2 videos a week. I'm excited. It is the season where I live. The pre-spawn bass are actually destroying everything I throw right now. It's a blast. And couple upcoming things down the pike. We got Baitman TV on next week. Debo fishing. He got a kayak. I got him coming on the show in 2 weeks from now. So excited about that. The Knucklehead challenge starts in May, which is right around the corner. We'll talk about in just a moment. And remember, this is an interactive show for those listening in live. And so please interact with my guest tonight. With over 25 million views on YouTube alone, the founder of Kayak Bass Fishing, Chad frickin' Hoover. Welcome to the show, man.
What's up, dude? Okay, 2 things before we even get started.
That you always have something.
That intro's badass. That intro's badass. I like it. I first thought I was watching one of those like Dateline NBC To Catch a Predator things with the music, but then when the voice came in, you like hit it, you crushed it. I like it. But you said Debo is getting in a kayak.
Yes, he bought one.
So why on God's green earth is Debo and the Debo people? Why aren't they in the Knucklehead?
Come
is
on.
It because he just got in a kayak and he's scared? He needs to get a season under his belt. I would like to throw the gauntlet down and challenge Debo. Hey, we still got time, bro. We can get you in. And
yeah.
I mean, the Debo Nation, because I actually stole my logo idea from Debo, the black and white CHAD. So it pops.
All right.
I've already given credit where credit's due, but like, hey man, you got a kayak, you're coming into the dark side. Let's you don't have to give up your roots on the bank, but let's throw Debo the challenge out there of joining the Knucklehead this year and seeing if he can't get the Debo Nation to come full swing and come down here in Alabama and represent, you know?
Heck yeah. In fact, right now, why don't you just hop over to one of his videos, right, as you're listening in, and just shout out. We'll just like blast him. Right?
Go light his comment section up and say, hey, Chad just challenged you to join the Knucklehead series for 2024, but he says you're probably scared. And spell scared, SKEERD. Scared. Spell it like a knucklehead. All right.
I love it. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. That'll be a blast.
We keep doing it. We should remind them twice or 3 times throughout the show. Hey, it's the Debo light up his comment section intermission.
All right, 30 minutes from now, we'll circle back on that.
Perfect.
Oh man, so how you been?
I've been busy. I've been grinding. I'm trying to get my fat ass in shape. I'm trying to drop some LBs. I'm trying to spend more time on the water. I'm accomplishing the parts about spending more time on the water. In fact, tonight, when we get off of this live stream, I'm going fishing. I'm going to go try to catch some of those nighttime giants that I was catching last year, but get started a little bit earlier. The pre-spawn, post-spawn, and post-spawn big females are right where I want them to be. And I think I can trick them into eating a big top water toad. I think I can trick them into eating a Zaco rigged sideways, which I'm actually doing a video about either tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
I swore I'd never release a video on this. It's one of the most effective things that I do that I've never seen anybody else do. And then I'm also going to try to catch them on a teckle, which is the frog that's got the spinning tail like a basically like a weedless whopper plopper.
Okay.
And I'm shooting some video while I'm doing it because I've got the light set up on the kayak now. When I catch a big fish, I can easily get video of it. And but most importantly, you know, we got the college series in town this weekend. We had two firemen's tournament last weekend with 217 boats, and it's just getting to the point where during the day and especially on weekends, the lake is just overrun. So that's when I like to go out at night and catch those girls when they're letting their inhibitions down. You know what I mean? When they're hanging out with their girlfriends or having a few shots.
The Netflix and chill.
Yeah,
Not paying attention.
And they're just really susceptible to a slurpy frog going by and like, oh, what is that? And then
So when you say lake is overrun, like give us some like context here. What's that look like?
Gunnersville, most of the time from say January to mid-March, I've got it to myself, or I don't have to fight hard. I may see one or two other people. Basically from the first week of April through about November, there's a tournament or multiple tournaments every weekend on the lake. There are usually multiple hundreds of competitors. And right now, the college series, the MLF college series is in town. And those kids are running around right now, not talking smack. I'm just saying what they're doing. They're running around. They pull up into a cove. Whoa, they come off plane. They kick their trolling motor down. They scope around with live scope for about 3 minutes. They pull it back up, and then they're off to the next spot.
Rip away.
Ripping and churning and beating up the lake. And that's great because then they're keeping each other from finding fish in a lot of the more popular coves. And then I've got a couple of places that boats just really can't get to.
Yeah.
And then if I go out there at night, those fish are just, their inhibitions are down. The water's like been crystal clear for pretty much the whole year, even with rains and releases from the dam. And so it's a lot harder to get those fish sight casting. Not that it's impossible, but you know, the guys caught a lot of big fish during the national championship and the trail series, but it's just easier to get those fish to blow up on a topwater frog at night, especially if you line up with the feeding time. It's a full moon right now. Oh. I really don't like the full moon as much as I like the new moon, but I do like the full moon. So I'm fishing the full moon. I'm probably going to fish all the way around till daylight.
Wow. You're going for it.
Oh, I do this every year. Like honestly, in July, I probably fish more nights than I do days, depending on how. And July, August, and September, I do a lot of night fishing and catch a lot of giant bass. And it's just been hard to show those fish off. So this year, I rigged my boat up where I've got the press button and the two green lights shine back on me. I can hold them up, and it's not like it's not like trying to ride a unicycle, pat yourself on the head, and rub your stomach at the same time to take a photo at night. And I can film because the green lights will light the water up as well.
That'll be fun. Yeah. So if you live around Chad right now, in about 50 minutes, he'll be pulling out of his, and you can just follow him to his secret spots, his night fishing spots.
Come on. I'll just take you with me. Just meet me at the racetrack on South Memorial right outside of Ditto Landing, and you can just follow me to the spot.
There it is. I love it. I love it. So let's hop right in, right? Tonight, we're going to be talking about tournament fishing, how to prepare, what you need to know in order to be a part of getting into tournament fishing for the first time. So that's kind of where I want you to like focus your brain. For those of us, since we are going to be talking about the Knucklehead, for those who maybe you've never done a tournament before, right? Especially a kayak fishing tournament, which is there's some nuances to it. Everyone always like freaking out. Like, oh, you said 18. You mean 18 ounces? No, 18 inches. I'm a kayak angler. That's how we do it. And so let's first talk about the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, why you started it. Walk us through a little bit of last year, this, high flybys. We did this like a month ago, and the changes this year and kind of why.
The idea behind the Knucklehead was a ton of people go, hey man, it would be awesome to come fishing with you.
Yep.
I have a guide service. You can pay me to go fishing, but I get what they mean. And it's really hard to coordinate. Hey, let's go fishing. And so to be able to offer that to your fans, your followers, I call them family, the Knuckleheads. That's where the name came from. That is my community, as my group of followers. They named us that, and I just adopted it. And so I know that everybody's got a band of Knuckleheads, because honestly, if you're fish out of a little plastic boat for a thing that's got a brain the size of a BB, and you spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in the pursuit of tricking one of these, wary critters into hitting your lure so that you can then catch it and then let it go. You're a knucklehead, right? We're all knuckleheads, okay? So then I started having the dialogue with some of my friends, and then, Gene and I did a couple of 1v1s last year, just creating the dialogue and the banter back and forth on the YouTube channel. Yeah. And people were like, dude, I love you two guys together. It's freaking awesome. And this, that, and the other. And so when I was transitioning away from TV this year, and I wasn't going to be doing the TV show as much, and Gene and I will still collab, I was just like, what if we took that concept and we spread it out to other influencers or team captains or representatives of communities and things like that.
Yeah.
And I just started reaching out to people that were creating content that resonated with me. And like, that's how you and I met. I called you up and said, hey man, or I messaged you, hey, give me a call. I'm like, dude, love your stuff. There's even a couple of times I was like, you SOB, you took a video idea that I was doing. And, and then the idea behind, then we started talking and we hit it off. And then I was like, all right, who are some like-minded folks? Alex Rudd's a good friend of mine. I called him and he's like, dude, you got to get John from Creek Fishing Adventures in. And so Alex Rudd was initially in last year.
Yep.
And his dad passed and things got tough and he wasn't able to do it. And so luckily, Alex is in. John came in last year and had a great show, and he actually was the #1 captain as far as getting people to sign up.
Killed it.
We made some really stupid decisions. And when I say we, I mean me, on setting it up to start in March for myself and Fluke Master. And then it was kind of discombobulated because we didn't think about the fact that some of these guys are going to jump in and be a hammer and then flex on everybody. So we'd have a guy or a gal that would sign up and have 113 inches and be in all the leaderboards. And then everybody else is like, well, screw that. I'm not signing up if John Long has already got 113 inches and I can't do that. And you know what I mean? And there were several other people that did the same thing. And so I'm always in the deploy, analyze, adjust, measure, and then redeploy. I call it the DAM principle. And so even as it was going, I was already like, yeah, that was a mistake. I should have done this different. But we were kind of like in too deep to pull out. So we went through the season. We did the championship. I put the $10,000 up, lost my butt on that. But what I didn't do is I didn't regret doing it. I said, let's get some refinement. Let's take the pain away. Let's add in some elements. The one thing that was the most confusing is that everybody was under one page. And then 1 month I'd try to have you at the top. And the next month I'd try to have Grants. Well, it's really hard to have your own featured spot when there was 12 captains in 4 months or 5 months, right?
Right.
So now we have our own page with our own group. You can message and interact with your group. You can provide the incentives. You can update your event details within your group. And more importantly, when one of us send people to that landing page, they get to see the other captains, and maybe we get some bleed over from the other captain. But one of the things that we did this year is we limited it to 2. You can only fish 2 series at a time. And then what we're going to do is a lot like when we have a live event and we shut the leaderboard off like an hour before the end of the event. This year, we're going to shut the leaderboard off 24 hours before the end of the event. And then when the results are released, if that person that entered 2 wins both, we'll contact them and say, hey, man, you fished Team Chad, you fished Team Wendell, you won both. Which team do you want to be on? And obviously they're going to pick Team Chad. So then I'll remove them from Team Wendell because they realize there's no way in God's green earth lightning is going to strike twice in that same spot.
You make it sound like it was like some act of God.
It kind of was. It was like 18 minutes to go with your ringer, and somebody from out of town had to show him where the fish was. I mean, there was so many, variables involved in
strategic variables involved. Yeah, I get it.
Variables.
Yeah.
Or luck, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
And so now we built on that as well by realizing that was freaking awesome to have Team Gramps up there leading the whole thing. And then you guys come in at the last minute and do the leaderboard change. And it was like, I even got a good little prank in at the boat ramp when I walked up to you and I said to your team, hey guys, I got some bad news for you. And just so you guys know, they can try to play it off now, but I walked over to him and I said, I got some bad news. the KBF rules state that you can't catch the same fish twice in the same event, which, by the way, Wendell, I actually have a pending challenge right now on you for your state challenge series entry. You actually have a fish that you caught a period of time apart.
Yep.
But I'm about 95% sure it's the same fish. So we've got people.
I got video on it, so if you want proof.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can't use the same fish in the same event. So even if it's the same month, because people could go in and click it to a pole, put it on a lip gripper. So we'll talk about that offline. But you actually have a fish right now that's challenged. So don't rest on your laurels, because one of your fish might be off the leaderboard.
It's all right. I got 19s that'll replace it. I'm good.
Right. So anyway, what we learned is that it was cool to have that last minute leaderboard change, but it would have been so much cooler if that last minute leaderboard change carried into the night, and then we had to get together and there was some smack talking, but there was a whole nother day to go to fish, and you had to do it over 2 days. And so this year, that's what we're doing. We're going to have 1 day fishing on Wheeler and 1 day fishing on Gunnersville. And the way it's going to work is we're going to bring the captains in, and we're going to rank the captains based on the number of people that they got to enter over the course of the 4 months. And you get to come up, and we're going to have a velvet bag with some really nice poker chips in it, or coins that have the name of the lake. And you get to draw the name, and the lake that you draw is the lake you fish on day 1. And then on day 2, you have to fish the other lake.
Oh.
But we're also going to throw a poker chip in there that's a wild card that won't feel any different. So you can't, feel it out. It'll be the wild card chip. If you draw the wild card chip, not only do you get to pick the lake you're going to fish the first day, but you also get to take one other team and pick the lake they have to fish. So it's going to be kind of like the screw your buddy thing that we do.
Screw your neighbor. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, screw your neighbor. So we're going to play that game. And then the way it'll work is it's 5 team members. It's the captain plus their 4 winners of the month.
Yep.
And it's 5 fish, and it's the best fish from each angler. Then at the end of day 1, we're going to have an award ceremony, and everybody's going to get together, because not only are we having something a little different than we did last year. Last year we had a wild card fish off, but we realized a lot of people didn't think they may be able to win that. Right. So less people showed up than we thought. So this year we're not going to have a wild card team. The teams are going to be what the teams are when we kick off May 1st. Maybe it'll add Debo and a couple of other guys that, decide not to be scared at the last minute and throw their hat in the ring. But what we're going to do is the Saturday of the event, we're going to have the meet and greet on Friday night. The Saturday of the event, we're going to have a big bass fish off for everybody that caught a 5-fish limit during the Knucklehead that didn't win their way onto a team. Okay. And those folks are going to be fishing for 1 fish. The top 5 places are going to get paid. It's going to be $1,000 split up between the first 5 places. And then I'm getting each team captain to commit $1,000 in prizes, so that we have at least $10,000 in prizes. And those prizes are going to be drawn and given away on that Saturday night to the people that didn't make it onto the team. So that way they've got a chance to win both a cash payout for big fish. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, what this was born of is there was a lot of people that after the event was over, like, man, I really enjoyed hanging out with Daren, when we were hanging out as a team, but it would have really been nice to have more interaction with Creek or you or Gene or whatever, insert name here. Yep. This year, what we did is we decided to make that night both the award ceremony and the giveaway for all the folks that are fishing in the Big Bass Fish Off.
The first night.
And so Saturday night, yep, at the end of the first day, we'll turn the leaderboard back on and reveal who the leaders are and where we stand. And then we're also going to then do an award ceremony for all of the folks that are there for the Big Bass Fish Off. And we're going to give away all of those raffle prizes. But here's how the raffle is going to work. Yes, you are fishing for big fish, but the leaderboard for the Big Bass Fish Off will be unlimited, meaning you can enter as many fish as you want. Every fish is an entry into the drawing. And so we'll download the entries, and the more fish you catch, the better chance you have of winning prizes at the giveaway. And so hopefully we'll have, 10,000 minimum, but hopefully we get up to 15, 20, 30,000 in prizes. And then the goal is long-term, that becomes as big a part of the whole thing as just the actual competitive part. And then we have a party that Saturday night, and everybody gets to meet all of the team captains even if they didn't make their way onto a team, or if they made their way onto the team, and they may come over to we'll set up a little table or a booth or something for each captain so folks can come over, take a picture, shake your hand, punch you in the head, do whatever they want. And then that'll create a more of a camaraderie based feeling for the event. And then on Sunday, everybody that made their way onto a team goes back out and fishes day 2. Sunday evening, we have the award ceremony, and then we can get everybody back on the road. Or this year, the Challenge Series Championship and the Trail Series Championship are both converging into a Kayak Bass Fishing, the 10.
Okay.
So I put the weekends back to back so that if you are so inclined to fish in the Challenge Series and qualify for the Challenge Series Championship, you're fishing in the Knucklehead that weekend, and then basically skip Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday night is the captain's meeting, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the championship for the Trail Series and Challenge Series Championship. So you're able to then come to that event and double dip if you go out and fish the Challenge Series and qualify. And then the goal is long-term for people to mark their calendars. This is the weekend that we do Knucklehead, and it's the weekend that we do the Challenge Series Championship, because next year I'm not going to have a trail. I'm only going to have get-togethers, fan fish-offs. And I actually think that what'll be cool is to do a Knucklehead head-to-head, right? And so basically I throw a challenge out and say, hey, Daren, I challenge you to meet in the middle, and we do like a 1v1, and there's some kind of something at stake. And like, for example, where I'm thinking is right now is we fish for $1,000 in sponsor prizes, but we go fish, we have a 5-fish limit. We agree on, waters, or we maybe put it out and the fans have to pick the water we fish on.
There we go.
We'll do a 1v1, and the winner gets $1,000 in prizes from the loser, donated for him to give away to his knuckleheads. You see?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
It's not a cash thing, but it becomes a way of engaging each other's sponsor bases, engaging our brand partners, and creating some call outs, kind of like what we did with the Captain's Challenge this year, where that leaderboard is going to be fun to play with. But I think next year, and maybe even later this year, who knows, the goal will be, one captain can call another captain out. And just like we just did with Debo, you mentioned on a thing, you don't even tell me about it, but you go, hey, go light Chad's comment section up, saying I challenge him to come fish in, Rinky Dink Pond, Ohio, where we got to see if he can actually fish, kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? And then we just have some fun with it. You know what I'm saying? And we invite the people that are fishing in the Knucklehead to come out for that 1v1. And then maybe we do a 1v1v1. Maybe it's like me, you, and Rudd meet up and do a fish.
Converge.
Into down the road, it could get to the point where we do 6, 8, 10, all the captains showing up, doing a fish off, and creating a whole bunch of hype and a bunch of smack talk. And then we all edit the videos to where it shows it from different perspectives, and everybody gets to learn from those different perspectives and approaches to tournament fishing.
Yeah. I need to up my sponsor game if this is what we're doing. I don't have a lot.
And that's the goal too, is that you can start to benefit from my sponsor base, or from, like, if you don't use anything that I'm sponsored by and you go, man, I really love to be sponsored by insert name here. I'm like, oh, well, Gene's sponsored by them. Let me connect y'all and see what you can do. And getting product is really freaking easy, especially at the level of following you have. And so if you get that and then you use that to engage your fans, and then that brand sees that, you're demonstrating your brand value. And then that turns into potentially a paid sponsorship down the road, which is the other side of this, is that we're all networking together to increase opportunities for the captains, while simultaneously using that to increase opportunities for the fans and the participants and the family members of our prospective groups. And if you end up with a sponsorship and you've got clout to then pull $5,000 in sponsorship, your followers benefit from that, because now you're using that as a carrot on the stick in the prize series that you're running. And then even on your content separate from the Knucklehead, you know, so that's the overarching view. I think I covered everything, but if I missed anything, feel free to be like, well, what about this?
Yeah, 100%. And Morgan just told me he would sponsor me 1 pack of hooks a month. I'll take it, Morgan. I will take it.
That's 1 pack of hooks more than you had when we started this live stream.
That is 100%. Chad, who's all part of it right now, right? And so, short of going on Fishing Chaos, right, where you would sign up for this and looking typing in Knucklehead and looking at them all. Who do you have secured, and who are you talking to? And then,
Well,
of
let me
course, we're
just
going to
do
call
this.
Debo at the end.
Let me just do this so I don't screw up and forget somebody, because I got a billion things running around my brain right now. But all you got to do is go to Fishing Chaos, and you click on kayakbassfishing.com, click on tournaments up here, and scroll down until you see Knucklehead, and you click on it, and then you'll wait and see this group of clowns come up here. And
number one clown right there.
So yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how I can change that order so it'll sort. But right now, they're kind of showing up in the order that I created them. So obviously, there's Team Chad, there's Team Gramps, which was the team that you said move over Bacon. Now there's something media with 20 minutes to go last year. There's Team Creek, which is John Dalton from Creek Fishing Adventures on YouTube. There's Team Rudd. There's one special shout out I got to give to Team Rudd. Not only did he join last year, knowing that he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning, he also joined again this year and is just willing to bring his knowledge and expertise and his new daily bass tip series to the game and just donate his money and convince his fans and followers to donate their money when they know beyond a shadow of a doubt there ain't a snowball's chance in hell they're winning anything. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much they're signing up for charity, which he does have a great charity that he's supporting, and we all have a charity that we're supporting. But, right after Team Rudd, you got Team Knucklehead, the defending champions, and it's going to be kind of like Ronda Rousey. It's going to have a good run in the beginning when there really wasn't a lot of competition, and then after that, she's going to get knocked out and then go to the WWE, okay?
You're full of tonight.
We got Team Bearded Dad. Jay's back in the game. Jay came in late as a substitution when Clay Guida bailed on us last year because he had this little UFC fight thing. And this year, I actually moved the date, and his jackass booked a flight during that date window. So I moved it back to accommodate when his fight was supposed to be, and then he rebooked a fight in the same window. So hopefully we get him on board next year. But I threw the gauntlet down to EJ, Eric Jackson, who is the founder of Jackson Kayak.
Yeah.
So there's the team EJ and Jackson. Eric Jackson can freaking fish. I mean, he can fish. And so he's not much at building a team or articulating himself or any of that. So we're going to have to basically carry him. His wife makes all the real decisions. So I actually called her to get permission for him to set up a team. He was all about it. And the funniest part about this is I'm not making this up. This is not a joke. This 100% happened. So last year, JT and his brother Jeremy, were on the same team. Right. And so this year, Jeremy wanted to have his own team. So now his team is Team Freedom Squad, which is funny because Jeremy and Matt are all in the Freedom Squad, and they got a bunch of other brothers. But Jeremy took that name, and so now Gramps or JT is a little miffed about that. Then there's some guys that are running a series out in Texas, and everything's supposed to be bigger in Texas. So Team Greenfish is Greenfish Nation, and because there's two of them that wanted to be captains, there's now Team Greenfish and Team Greenfish 2. Kind of like Flanders and Ned last year. Which, by the way, the aggressively average anglers bailed because, let's be real, they came down here last year. They broke their kayaks. They didn't really catch any fish. They were kind of lost out there doing bumper boats. I don't think they prepared well, and so they decided this year that they would rather review like Temu lures and stuff like that than actually compete. But they said next year they might be back, so we'll see. But you guys go light up their the aggressively average anglers, Jeff and Paul, and tell them that Chad called them Team Temu. So just use the hashtag Team Temu, and nobody will know what it means except us, since they're not in the Knucklehead game this year.
Oh my gosh.
And then maybe we can shame them in to getting back on board for next year.
You're killing me tonight, Chad.
A guy named Seth Yates is a hardcore competitor, and he signed up for my team. And I went, I just seen him at the national championship. I like his channel. He's doing a great job of creating content. Okay. And I thought, you know what? Not one of the more well-known content creators out there, but that's the beautiful thing about this platform is we use our platform so that rising tide raises all ships. So to be honest with you, when it comes to competitors and guys that probably have the competitive advantage right now, it's probably Team Kayak Angler or maybe Fluke Master, because Fluke Master is a hammer when it comes to tournament fishing. He proved that by, making it into the KBF the 10, by making it, finishing in the top 5 in Angler of the Year and all that good stuff. And then, of course, rounding it out is last but definitely not least for right now, Team Fluke Master.
What do you mean for right now?
We will talk about, well, we say for right now because I've got the gauntlet thrown down for a couple of other channels, and those guys are supposed to be getting back to me. I don't know if you guys know Outdoor Conquest, where dude's from Michigan. Wisconsin, and he's like, yeah, dude, I definitely want to freaking do it. I will literally take a really hard look at it. I'll read the page tonight, and I'll give you an answer by the end of the week. You guys know exactly who I'm talking about. And if y'all do me a favor and head over to the Outdoor Conquest page, light his comment section up. I got a couple of other that have soft committed. They're going to let me know by tomorrow or Friday at the absolute latest. And then, but I do have one who showed some serious interest, and then he just ghosted me. And I think he literally initially said, oh yeah, man, it sounds awesome. But then he backed up and thought about it, and he only fishes ponds, or mostly ponds. And then he realized, oh crap, this is competing on like real water. So Terrence from Pond Boys, I'm calling you out, bro. Like, look, I'm going to show you all the text messages. I'm going to be like those UFC fighters who like call Dana White out, Like I straight up go back and forth with him. He's like, oh man, I'm all about it, bro. This would be awesome. Yada, yada, yada. And then it's like, absolutely, man. I love to be more involved in the kayak tournaments. And then when I explained it to him, he's now ghosted me. So Terrence,
a real lady.
Y'all go here. Let me show y'all his Instagram page. Y'all go hit him up because I think he would be a good person to donate to the cause. So it's Terrence Gordwin. Okay. Channel is Pond Boys. It's got the, he's got the blue check. He's got 174,000 followers. But let's be real. He fishes where he's shooting fish in a barrel. Okay. We're challenging him to get out there and catch fish in the real world. So I understand it's a little tougher, but y'all go over to Terrence's channel and blow up. Oh, wait a second. So now he's saying he called me. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll call you back. Shoot me a text, because my voicemail does say, if you get this, don't leave me a voicemail. Shoot me a text. So you got one guy right here. So listen, are you in? Are you saying you're in right here on the live stream? We'll find out if Conquest is telling me he's in right here on the channel, or if he's calling me to bow out gracefully on the backside. So maybe I'm putting him on the spot. Shoot me a text right now, and we'll keep the conversation going. But dude, the guy creates amazing content. I'd love to have him on board. There's a couple of other that are on the fence that I'm not going to shame because they have family things that they said they got to clear first, which I understand. Like one of them was TJ from Kayak USA.
You tried to get him last year.
Got a lot of family stuff, is doubling down on his outdoor overland stuff, and, totally understand where he's coming from. But he said, hit me again next year. And I'm like, all right, you'll always have an open invite, but again, we had a conversation. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, letting him go do his thing. But he is scared. I mean, it really boils down to it. It's not like building a kayak trailer in your garage. It's actually going out fishing. So I kind of understand that component. You know what I'm saying? Like, but y'all go light up Pond Boys, because he's actually one of the bigger following opportunities. The guy brings a unique energy to the game. And I'd like to see if he can catch a fish that's not, like got an ankle shackle on with a sign that says like cast right here. But yeah, so that's the captain so far. And those are the people. Oh, I'll tell you one more to go light up, because he said, yeah, man, I'll take a look at it. I'm about 90% in. Got to check my schedule. And that's Noah Piscatelli of Kicking Their Bass TV. Noah was hot and heavy. Then he got sick. In his defense, he got sick. And then he's been trying to play catch up, but he hasn't responded to my text since the initial deal. So y'all go light up Noah Kicking Their Bass TV. Go hashtag Knucklehead his comments. Put something like Chad said you're scared, whatever. Like, he could get you guys fishing for some mock combos, or wearing some like neon green shoes, or like getting yourself some like coordinated gear, or things like that. So, yeah, dude. And this is the kind of stuff I want to do. I want to make this fun. I want to make the, oh, wait a second. So the Outdoor Conquest says he's going to give an answer on Bearded Tides podcast live on Sunday. So
I already know the answer to that.
I'm going to be a guest on there. So apparently he's going to be a guest on there. So what I think he's doing is I think he's letting us all down soft, and he's giving himself a few more days to let the sting go, and so he can hopefully like slide off into the dark without anybody noticing it. What I really think it boils down to is it's not Midwest smallmouth fishing where he's already a pro, so he'd have to get outside of his comfort zone. So I think that's what it really boils down to is he's like, man, can I go down there and catch like greenfish and compete with these guys, or am I going to embarrass myself? And I think that's some of what everybody's got going on. Likely. That's why I applaud Alex Rudd. He flat out just was like, I'm in. Knows good and well he ain't going to win. Knows good and well he ain't even going to really be competitive. But it's just like, I'll show my support and I'm in.
Heck yeah, Smoke 74, Team Wendell all the way. I like this. I'm getting some good feedback here. Hey, I just had Jack McRoberts join my team in the midst of this live show. So that's good. Jack, Tammy, some of the old team back together. I'm telling you what, Jack's a hammer. So is Tammy. So I have a feeling we're going to put roughly the same team together this year that we had last year. It's going to be a good one. You getting text messages over there, Chad? What's going on?
Text messages, man. Literally, my judge is sitting here saying, me to looking really hard. The lighting of the jawline. He's basically sending me this stuff on the on your fish, which we'll talk about offline. But like you said, you probably got.
I got backups to backups to backups.
Backups to backups to backups.
I'm good.
Yeah, man.
Tell me it's the 19 that you want to switch out, not the 21.25.
No, it's one of the ones in the 20s. There's a duplicate of it. So, and that's the beautiful thing about the way that this system works is, with the video release, you did catch that fish legitimately twice. But we got to differentiate that from people that like potentially, move to cheat. So therefore we can't allow the same fish in the same event, meaning if it was like a monthly challenge, it's the whole month. Yep. Because man, when we started, I'm not kidding you, we had a lady named Tina, a really good friend of mine. She was one of the Howe chapter directors. They had a fish that she caught so many times the people in the competition named it. It was named Martha. She could go to this lake and catch this same fish. And I think over the course of like 3 years, she caught it like 12 times. And it was like 24 and a half inches when she started. And it was like 25 and some change by the end. And I finally had to go, all right, we got to make a rule where you can't just catch the same fish over and over again. And so that's the rule, unfortunately.
So it actually is an actual rule. I did not know that. I thought you were joshing us.
No, it's an actual rule. You cannot
get us.
You can't catch the same fish in the same challenge or the same tournament. So one of the reasons that we do the 2-day trail on the weekend is we had 2-day events where a person would go out fishing and the second day they would catch the same fish. And we had a scenario where a guy caught the same fish, 3 of the same fish. So comes into the award ceremony thinking he's got like 98 inches and we DQ'd 3 of his fish. He's got like 65. And it is demoralizing. But when we went to the 1-day event, since they're separate events, you can catch that fish on Saturday and then you can turn around and catch it again on Sunday. But we also don't want people during the spawn just going out there and beating up and trying to catch it. Because there are places on Guntersville, I'm not kidding you, I could go catch the same fish 5 times throughout the course of the month. And I would have 117 inches with 1 fish. And everybody would be like, what the? That doesn't make no damn sense. And so
same stupid fish.
That's the reason for the rule. Yes, sir.
No, that's a solid rule. And here's the thing. What if 2 people on the team caught the same fish?
Well, that joke that I pulled on you guys.
Right. You got us.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so let me tell everybody what happened. So we started talking about it and then we got squirrel. So Daren and his team or like most of the team are sitting in the parking lot. They're over there. They're celebrating. They're on cloud 9. They're loading their stuff up. They're taking their shirts off and doing like naked chest bumps and stuff. They're actually talking about going to the tattoo parlor and all getting Team Wendell matching tattoos, like the whole thing, right? I walk over and I totally sold it. I sold the shit out of it. I walked over with my phone in my hand. I was like, guys, listen, I'm not sure if you know the rule, but you're not allowed to catch the same fish in the same event. And since you guys are a team, the same person can't catch the same fish. And since you're all kind of fishing in the same area, unfortunately, one of your fish was caught twice and we're going to have to DQ it. So then I turned around, straight face, stone cold, walked back over to my truck, and they're all over there comparing notes on their phone. They're swiping, they're looking for it. And then finally they're like, dude, we don't have the same fish. What are you talking about? And then I was like, I got you, mofos. And anyway, but yeah, if it's a team event, the team people can't catch the same fish either. That way one person doesn't catch it and be like, hey man,
come on over here.
Come over here. And then, and heaven forbid we end up with cheaters, but to avoid it, we don't want it to where somebody could like take that fish, put it on a lip gripper. You know what I'm saying?
2 hours later, pull it up.
The other person comes around, pulls it up, and acts like they caught it. And so, to keep it honest, no event where the scoreable fish are used can be the same fish.
Yeah. So, do you have judges that are looking at that, or do you have tech that looks at that?
We have both. That
identifies it.
Mostly judges right now. One of the things that we're doing a hell of a lot better job of, and I'm about to start incentivizing it in May, and I'm going to talk about it on my live stream on Thursday. That's kind of like a virtual captain's meeting for the way forward.
Yeah.
Is we're working on more and more tech to do it. So that way, that's why I'm putting your hand in a position to where the system can start reading fish details and comparing tails and lateral lines and some of those things. And the idea is that we will have user-generated challenges. We will have judge criteria, and then we'll have SGC or system-generated challenges. You load the fish, and it'll go, bink, this fish has been entered by another angler, and it'll make your fish and that fish red until we do the review. Yeah. And the idea behind that is it keeps people from even trying to slide it in. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably a year and a half, 2 years down the road. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to start incentivizing folks to go out and hit that challenge button. And Fishing Chaos is working on a deal where right now we judge the fish pretty quick, and the judges are amazing. And so the problem is once it's official, you can't challenge it. So we're going to allow the challenge or not judge the fish as fast, so they stay up there a little longer to give people a chance to challenge them. For every successful challenge, I'm going to draw prizes. So there's going to be challenge prizes for the challenge series, not just from the fish you catch, but from the challenges you submit. And so for every successful challenge, you're entered into a drawing for a challenge series prize package at the end of the month. And I'm kicking that off as part of Mayhem. So what that does is that gets tens of thousands of eyeballs scrutinizing the hell out of all the fish. And then if they notice something, go, wait a minute, Billy Bob's got that same fish. Then we could at least look at the proximity and see when they were caught. And then we could look at the angler location and say, those anglers were near each other for 10 minutes at the exact same time that fish was caught. And then that's going to allow us to start to track fish sharing and some of the other things that we've worried about for years in catch, photo, release.
Yeah. Wow.
So
See, I didn't know once it was official, it can't be challenged. I didn't realize that.
It cannot. But you can do it, file a dispute. So what we want to do is we want to have the challenge button, and once it's officially scored, then you have to file a dispute. But instead of doing the website and emailing us and all that crazy stuff, like which is what happened with your fish, we're going to make a dispute button. So once it's gone official, the challenge button will flip to dispute. And if you still think it's wrong, you can file a dispute. The dispute will come with like a $25 fee, kind of like when you check into a hotel and they block your card for incidentals.
Yep.
And then we won't charge the card. If your challenge turns out to be valid, we'll basically go in and go, don't charge. But if your challenge isn't valid, you get charged $25 for wasting our time. And so that way we don't have people making challenge, arbitrary challenges just for nothing.
Also wasting your time. Right.
We're going to add a lot of validity to the challenge series, and also add a lot of validity to the standings, because it's like now not only are you got to pass the judges, but you got to pass the scrutiny of open forum judging and crowdsourced judging from tens of thousands of eyeballs.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question come from Rob, which is a recent channel partner of mine. Thank you, Rob. Will the judges give reasons for denials this year? I had a fish DQ'd for Knucklehead, but accepted for the catch 22.
We give reasons, and we've always given reasons. The problem is people don't go look at their email. So when you get a denial, there is an email that goes to you to tell you the reason for denial. And if you go to your catch log, so like if you go to Fishing Chaos, click on these 3 dots at the top left corner.
Yep.
It'll open up right here. And if you go to catch log, which is the third option down, you'll see the fish come up. And if you go to your fish, there is a entry history down here on the ones that are entered into tournaments. You can click on that and it'll tell you the reason why it was denied. It'll tell you what the rule was. And so if you had a fish denied in one but accepted in the other, that means that the rules were more stringent for the catch 22 or for the state challenge series and kind of more lax for the catch 22. So it was accepted for the catch 22 because, like, say, for example, just for fun, any fish, mini fish, and the any 22 fish was wide open. But it's funny you say that because we are now tightening the reins on the catch 22 challenge because we didn't think about it as a funnel towards the other stuff. We really thought of it as more of its own thing. But because so many people are using it as like a proving ground, and then they move over to the state challenge, if they develop bad habits in the catch 22, it bites them in the butt. So we are now, with the exception of the just for fun, we are now enforcing the rules on the catch 22 challenge, just like KBF rules for any other event, so that you don't develop bad habits and then move over into a series that costs more money that isn't for charity. And then you get you get dinged for something, and you're like, but that's been accepted in the catch 22, every single fish I submitted. And so we came aware of that about a month ago, and we updated the rules to say so. So moving forward, if it was denied for the catch 22 or for the state challenge, it'll also be denied for the catch 22. But to answer his question, you do get a response. It's in email. You'll get the thing that says your entry denied. And when you click on it, there'll be a blue box that says view reason or view results or something like that. You click on that and it'll tell you what the reason for the denial or the adjustment was.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I've never had a fish be challenged before, so this is my first. That's exciting. It's good. Question for you. What is the number one reason a fish is DQ'd?
The number one reason right now, and that has changed over time, but the number one reason right now is the wrong identifier card, meaning they just assume you don't have to have the card, you only have to have the code. So they take the code and they write it on their hand or they write it on a piece of paper. And then the rules specifically say you have to have a KBF identifier card. And so the purpose for that is, just like you were talking about earlier, is we're doing some machine learning with the app. And we're doing some automation stuff. And I hate to give away too much of my like secret sauce, but like the identifier card has a bunch of things in it that we are using for parameters. I'll give you an example. If any of you guys have ever done the go to Google Maps or something and you hit a drop pin and there's a thing that says measure distance. You know how you extend the line out and it measures a distance. So I have an app where I can do that on a photo. I can measure something like the identifier card and I know what the distance is. I hit save, then I take that line and scale it to the fish. And it tells me how long the fish is based off of that thing. And if it doesn't match the board, because we've had people in the past that have cut the board to take a section out, then that flags the fact that somebody has modified their measuring board. So there's other things that ID card does other than branding. Because I've had a couple of people get mad. I think it's bullshit that I got to put that card in there just so your sponsors get coverage. Okay, let's address that. It's my challenge series. If those sponsors are helping fund the judging and the overhead and the cost, then it is what it is. Okay,
it's costing you less, not you. I'm talking about me, the person going into it, because you're getting this stuff under.
Rather me, charge $5 per person per fish for judging, or get Realtree and Yak Attack and Torpedo and some of these other companies to supplement that by letting their logo be on the identifier, then that's what we're doing. But that is a supplemental deal. The primary deal is to give ourselves measurements and to give us a working platform. It's basically an indicator of a known length in the board that we can compare to other things. And long term, it's going to be a machine automated thing where it can read the card, then read the board, and then read the fish. So the goal is in the next 3 years, you put a fish on the board and the system tells you how long it is. It says this fish is 22.25 inches, and you hit yes.
Got it. Yeah, it's your basis, right? It's for moving forward. All right, I got a quick question for you. For those who maybe have never done a kayak fishing tournament before, Knucklehead 1 is perfect for it, right? Great entry level tournament, lower cost than the rest of the tournaments. And walk me through like what you need to have in order to be a part of this. Like, here's a couple of things I want you to rip on. KBF member, right? Fishing Chaos, where to find it. KBF rules, like the top ones people screw up out of the gate. Like, we don't want that, right? We want them knowing the rules, understanding it before you launch stuff, approved measuring board stuff, testing your app stuff, tethering your board stuff, your kind of your pre-flight stuff.
So Ryan Rice, who's one of the judges, did a great video on his YouTube channel the other day going over this. I'm about to do another version, and I'm covering a lot of this in the captain's meeting video that I'm doing this Thursday, and then I'm going to link that up in all of our events until I do another version. Yep. But I will say this: the easiest way to know what rules are the most often penalizing people is just go to my rules and read them, and the ones that are in red. And I hate this analogy, but it's the only one I could think of. Like, you know how in the Bible, everywhere it's like Jesus actually spoke, it's in red?
Yeah, red letters.
Same thing. So if you go to the rules and you're reading through it, the ones that are in red are the ones that have most often overlooked or caused problems. So go to the rules. I'm not saying don't read them all, but read the red ones for sure.
This is the most tripped up on. Can you give us the Cliff Notes version of the top 3 or 4 that are red?
Those would cost the most people the most money. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, rip through them at a high level. What are they?
Fish facing left. Okay. Dorsal fin up, belly towards you, board level, phone over the top. You have to take the picture with the identifier visible. The biggest offender right now is the wrong identifier or the hand in the no touch zone. So having the hand in what we call the no touch zone, covering up what we consider the best place to get the differentiating characteristics of the fish, is the biggest issue right now. And so Rule 9G shows an image and a graphical depiction, and then below it, it's written out. So your hand, not inside the gill, over the gill, but not touching or covering the mouth or the eye. And then there's a vertical line between the dorsal fin and the anal fin that goes straight down to what's called the caudal peduncle. And we don't allow anglers to touch that, because that section of lateral line and the back edge of the tail is like the 2 fingerprints of a fish.
Yep.
And what often happens is people are trying to compare 2 fish, and what they're looking for is they're looking for things that are different to say that the fish is different. We just had one recently, and the guy's like, well, in one fish, it had 1 slit in the anal fin like this, and then in the other one, it had 2 like this. And it's like, well, you could have took a knife and cut this,
pulled one apart,
and make it look like it's, whatever. But we don't look for the things that are different. We look for the things that are the same. And the first thing we do is compare the lateral line and the back edge of the tail. And when I do that, we use an app where we overlay the photo, and we're able to show whether or not the tail is in fact touching the other. Whether it's the same fish, if that makes sense. And again, I hate like over educating cheaters, because it does create a huge potential. But I'll show you guys one right here. This is one from a recent tournament, but this is an overlay. Now, I did the entire tail and the caudal peduncle, but this is just a short version of it that I cropped in on it. So you can see there is a tail. See how when it gets lighter and darker? Actually, I got to play it again. So I'm going to hit the play button. And when I do, you'll notice that, oh crap, hold on. I'm going to do it right side first.
All right.
And then I'll show it to you guys. All right. So when it starts playing, you'll notice the one fish, see it get lighter?
Yep.
And darker. That's the tail over the top of the other tail. All of these little edges and lobes, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Now, if I allow you to pinch the tail, one time you can use that fish with the pinch tail, and one time you can use it without the pinch tail. And if your hand is pinching the tail, your forearm is covering the caudal peduncle. And so the other thing that we analyze is like right here. We analyze this lateral line. So that's one fish, and that's the other fish. And if you look at how dark it is in one photo, and then how light it is in the other photo, you would think it's 2 different fish. But when you analyze this line and you start looking at things like, you see this snake eye right
Yeah,
here?
little darks. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, so you see the snake eye on the same fish. So we start looking for the things that are the same. And when I get more than 4 points of comparison that are the same, well, two is impossible. One's impossible to be the same. But
Right.
when you get 4, it's like billions of iterations before that's even remotely possible. So that's the way we test photos of what are considered to be similar fish. And so even in the series that allow the pinch tail, and I'm going to say this in this video coming up as well, I don't like the pinch tail because there's a lot of ways that people have cheated in the past. It allows you to use your forearm. So when I take a photo with my right hand and I hold my left hand over the fish because that just feels more natural.
Right.
But when you pinch the tail, you have to change because you can only pinch the tail with your left hand. Now you've got your right hand over the tail and you're focusing all of your eye over here, and the angle from the camera back to the mouth is a significant parallax. So you can't 100% even confirm that the fish's nose is touching. So if you don't have a 0, you don't have a standard. And then when you go down to the tail, I would even be more inclined to say, all right, cool, no problem. Some tournaments allow pinching the tail, some don't, if it was required. But when it's an option where you can pinch the tail or don't,
right,
that's what's frustrating, because a person could pinch the tail, use their forearm to cover the caudal peduncle and any identifying characteristics, and then on the next photo they could fan the tail out and reposition the fish to make it look 1.5 inches shorter, submit them both, and it gets really hard to catch them because one, the tail's pinched down and you can't see all of those things. The other one is spread out and the fish is cockeyed, and you've taken your arm out of the photo now, or at least you're not covering as much of the fish, makes it next to impossible to identify that fish as the same fish.
right.
And so that's the reason we stand our ground on the no pinching the tail rule.
Yeah, no, I like it.
And a lot of people pinch the tail, they squeeze the tail and the fish jumps this way and goes off the board. I can't tell you how many people have lost their fish sitting there jacking around with the tail trying to get an extra 1/4 inch, and then they lose 20 inches.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
You told a story once. I forget what it was. What's the most money someone ever lost doing that? I remember you telling me a story once where someone was goofing around, the fish popped out of the kayak.
I thought about it after I told you that, and then there was actually one that was even worse than that was really big. This person went from first place in our $100,000 2018 Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship to like 3rd or 4th place. So the difference was about 80 grand,
Jeez.
90 grand. The one that I was telling you the story about, and there's been several, was just under $11,000. And I was there filming this person and watching them mess around with the fish, and saw the fish jump off the board, and they looked at me like they saw a ghost. So just like you were talking about, if we get rid of one of your fish, the next one will move up. His next fish moved up, but he moved down, and honestly, kind of to a certain extent, spun out in his head and didn't fish well the rest of the day. So on the surface, it actually cost him like 11 grand, but realistically, because of the spin out and wasting the next hour and 40 minutes of not fishing great, probably cost him more than that, you know?
Right.
So we make a lot of rules to protect the angler from themselves, because we are everything from brand new entry level all the way up. I'll give you one other example: the identifier on the fish.
Yeah.
Back when people used to cover the fish with the identifier inadvertently, what people started doing is putting the identifier on the fish. Well, if I put the identifier on the fish, I can't help but take the picture with the identifier in it. We're like, sweet. Then this is what started happening. People put the identifier on the fish, they get their camera ready, the fish flops, and they reach down and stop it.
Right.
Now what they just do?
Cover their identifier.
And they take the picture, they look at it. Oh yeah, thank God I didn't lose that fish. They let it go, they submit the picture, cover the identifier. So now we don't allow you to put the identifier on the fish. You can put it on your hand. So that way, if you reach down, you're no longer blocking the fish, it's on your hand. So a lot of these rules are from just doing this way longer than anybody else has been doing it, and seeing the same things hundreds, if not thousands of times, you know?
How many people have been pissed off at you over the years?
A lot.
I
bet. Over the years, not over the last like 2 days, like nonstop.
Oh, I love it. Smoke74 asked me a question. What months can we sign up for you, Daren? Well, you can sign up for anybody. May, June, July, and August. That's the difference between last year versus this year.
Yeah,
everybody's fishing the same
and all that. I mean, there's like, it's all May. through August. That's it.
Heck yeah. Let me see if I popped anybody else since we've been talking here. Got 13 anglers on my team. So here's a question for you, Chad. Let's rip through a few other things. Well, let me back it up. You've been around kayak fishing tournaments a long time, right? What are the habits that you see in those who consistently win them over and over again? What are they doing? What's the competitive advantage and the trends that you're seeing? So for someone getting into the first time, what would you recommend for that person to give them a competitive advantage versus a noob kind of, I'm just going to give it my best shot?
So there's 3, and I'm actually going to do a video about this. And I am not doing a trail series next year because my competitive juices are flowing, and I want to fish, and I'll probably go fish, the other series that are available and a lot of the KBF ambassador things. But there are 3 universal truths to the people that are consistently successful. Okay. The number 1 is preparation. They prepare, whether it's map study, pre-fishing, or a combination of the 2. They know where they're going before they launch. They know where they're going if that spot doesn't pan out. And then they know where they're going if that spot doesn't pan out. And so they don't per se lock themselves into, I got one spot, and if it doesn't produce, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I would say that is the number 1 downfall of anglers who aren't successful consistently, is they may have a good bite and a good pattern, and if it produces, they kill it. But then they don't have another win for 2 years because they got to wait for all the stars to align. So that's 1, is basically preparation. Preparation. There's a saying, proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. That old school saying. And so I believe in that one. I don't know how many P's that is, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. That's a military thing, and it's a saying. So that's number 1. The other one that I would say is that they have a confidence, but I almost tie those first 2 together, because if you have preparation and something doesn't pan out, you've got the confidence to make an adjustment to then go and not spin out in your head, not go and panic, right? So the first one is number 1, because it also ties into number 2, which is confidence. They have the confidence to not melt down if they lose a fish, not melt down if they break off a fish, not melt down if another boat comes in on top of them or another angler comes in on top of them. You know what I'm saying? As part of that, I'm going to tie these 2 together, and I'll tell you a winning thing that happens a lot. And I just leave it up to the angler to figure this out for themselves.
Right.
So let's just say you got a spot, and on tournament day, you pull up there and another tournament angler pulls up. My strategy is to leave, because if I leave, I devalue that spot to that other angler. If you go, hey man, you mind letting me have this spot because this is my spot and I've been catching the shit out of them during pre-fishing, you now make that person go, oh. And then what they do is they may back off, but as soon as your ass goes 50 yards, they're in there and they're they're wearing your spot out. So not tipping your hand to other people and not getting spun out by spectators or other competitors is part of confidence. So that's number 2. And then the number 3 part is that and this is the number 3, but it's number 1, but it's number 1 because of the other 2. So that's why it's number 3. Does that make sense? So it's number 3, but it's the most important feature, but it's most important, but you can't do it unless you do 1 and 2 first. So it's still number 3, but it's the most important. And that is to fish small. And what I mean by that is guys are going out and they're finding a pattern, and they're finding a spot that is the size of a football field versus the size of a city. They're finding the spot that's the size of an end zone versus the size of a football field, or they're finding a spot that's the size of half a soccer field versus 4 football fields. And so the three keys to success are preparation and pre-trip planning and getting on the water and spending some time on the water. Confidence comes from those two. And then the third one is to fish small, meaning you're looking for that spot on the spot. You're looking for that thing that other people are overlooking. You're looking for that instead of the stump field, you're looking at the stump field that's on the edge of the ditch. Instead of the lily pad field, you're looking for the creek channel or the ditch that's running through the lily pad field. And so instead of fishing spots, they're fishing spots on the spots. Instead of fishing areas, they're fishing patterns. And so when you take preparation, confidence, and then fishing small, that formula right there is the key. I'll give you an example. One of the best anglers in the world, like flat down, it doesn't matter. I say in kayak fishing, but this dude would be a hammer anywhere he fishes, as Russ Snyder's. Russ Snyder's was here for the national championship, had a top 5 finish, did well, was sick as a dog, told me straight up, hey, I'm going to fish Saturday, but I'm not going to be able to fish Sunday because I'm already, about burnout. Goes to another spot on another lake and is trying to do something different. Calls me at like 10:30. Hey, man, I'm moving locations. Just wanted to let you know. I tried to go fish another spot so I could, help you out with promotions for the Tourism Bureau and all this other stuff. But now I'm going back over here. Drives an hour, gets on the water, gets back on the water at 11:30, gets to the spot at noon, and then wins the tournament. Who does that, right?
Right.
Russ Snyder's does that because he prepares. He's confident. He was confident to make that move, and he was confident to make that move because he had prepared. He had found fish, and he knew he could go fish 3 or 4 spots in an area, but not fish an area. He was fishing those spots within the area and had the confidence that he could go there and find the 5 fish he needed to win the event. And then he made the move, went out there and found the 5 fish. And here's the thing. He wasn't driving from one location to the other, hoping to catch fish. He wasn't driving from one location to the other, wondering if he was going to catch fish. He was driving from one area to the other, expecting to catch fish. And you expect to catch fish from confidence, and you get confidence from preparation. So preparation, confidence, and then basically being able to develop patterns is the 1, 2, 3 punch. And they're also interconnected. They're almost like the fire triangle. You know how the fire triangle works? You got the fuel, the catalyst, and the source. Take one of them away, and the whole damn thing falls apart. But if you can put those 3 pieces together, you're going to be more successful more of the time.
It's interesting, Chad, when you say that, because I remember the moment where I had the confidence. It's like, it don't matter what lake you put me on. I'm not saying I'm going to catch the biggest fish or win a tournament. I'm just saying I used to go out and get skunked all the freaking time. Now I'm like, you put me on any lake, I'm going to pick up some bass if they're biting that day. And so, it's a mindset, it's a mentality. And I know what you're saying, but I wouldn't have understood it until after I've kind of crossed over the threshold.
Yes.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. And so if you're out there being like, what are you talking about? There will be a moment, if you keep putting that time in on the water, that you will have that confidence with any body of water that you get on. You'll be like, if they're here, I'm going to get them.
And go watch my video, since you mentioned it, called Tow Factor, and TOW stands for time on the water. There is no real replacement for that. You can maximize your time on the water by doing map study and app study and public search and all that kind of stuff. But truly, the best way to get that confidence is time on the water. And then I have a video called MAPS. It's an acronym, MAPS. And it stands for maps, apps, public search, and sequencing. So the last part of the concept, the last part of the confidence, and then the fish small thing is sequencing. And here's what I mean by that. Every person that I know that consistently doesn't do well in a tournament, but every now and then does, goes to their best spot first. The people that are really good go to their best spot at the right time. So what I mean by that is, let's say you don't want to go out there right out of the gate and let the other anglers follow you. So that's part of your strategy.
Right.
Let's say you want to let 5 or 6 people go in there and not figure it out and leave it alone, and then you can come in later. Let's say that there's a wind or sun component to it. And if you get there at daylight and there's no wind, but your pattern is based on wind, why would you go to your spot right out of the gate if the spinnerbait bite has been the thing and the spinnerbait bite requires some wind?
Right.
Why would you get there when there ain't no wind till 10 o'clock?
Right.
If the lunar times, if you're like me and you believe it like the gospel, say that the best feeding time is going to be at 1 o'clock, it takes a lot of sack, right? A lot of fortitude to say the tournament lines out at 2:30, but I'm not going to my best spot till 1 o'clock or 12:45 so that I can do the most good at the best spot at the right time. So sequencing matters. So you may have some pattern spots, you may have some limit spots, and then you may have some upgrade spots. And having those and having the confidence and having the preparation and having the belief in yourself to leave those other spots alone. Like, I'll give you straight up an example. And this, like, straight up, the dock or the 4-dock stretch that you caught your biggest fish on.
Yep.
During the thing, I wasn't jacking with those docks. I was coming to them later. And then I paddle over there and you're like smiling like a Chesacat. Oh, I got a booger bug. But you did what I didn't do, which is I was going to wait till those docks were better power fishing docks. And I was going to go over there and skip a swim bait or a chatterbait and work it and cover more water. You went over there and did the off peak thing, which is to skip a slower moving bait that hovers in their face, that gets that more of a reaction bite. So I timed that wrong based on the other competitors out there. But more often than not, if I come back to that spot, I'm going to bang out that fish and I'm going to bang out 4 other ones that go with it versus what we did. And I was also, we were one fish fishing. So the other thing that I didn't want to do is, because I knew everybody knew I knew the lake, is I did not want to go tip anybody's hat off. So I actually went and got people to follow me, kind of like throwing off the scent trail. And I was going to loop back around. And then I ran into you and I'm like, why are you smiling? Then I went and looked at the leaderboard. I was like, oh, you motherfucker. I was like, where'd you catch it at? And I was like, I know where he caught it at. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go over there. I went over there. There's no fish there. And when your Instagram video came out, I was like, this son bitch. Went in there and punched him right in the throat, right in my. But that's also part of the strategy. But I know exactly what you did, because there was a very distinct reason those 4 docks were fishing better than the other 4 docks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was cold. The wind was blowing into those 4 docks. That warm water was getting skimmed into it. There was more bait around them, and you figured that out. Good on you. So again, those are the things that you have to take into account. But if you look at the most consistent characteristics and things, and I don't know, well, I know there's nobody that's interviewed more kayak anglers right after they've won an event or lost an event than me. Nobody. I've run more events, and I've had the pleasure. I've had the privilege, the insert catchy word here, of going, all right, man, tell us what you did to win. And then I've also had the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th people right out of the money going, yeah, I didn't make the right adjustments. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And, there's a few people that I work with that'll tell you this. I can legitimately, and I have gotten all but one right in like 9 years. I call the winners of events before the event starts.
What?
I usually do it. Oh, yeah. This year I did it for the trail series and I did it for the national championship. And I'll tell you how I did it. I just went around during pre-fishing, driving to the ramps and looking for vehicles and seeing where people were fishing, seeing where they were fishing on the water, kind of seeing their demeanor at the captain's meeting, or seeing their, you know what I'm saying, and going, or even going to the boat ramp and seeing what they have tied on. And then, like, my good buddy Chris Musinski, who is like the kind of second in command for KBF judging and standardization.
Yeah.
And then Ryan is like the main judge. Chris texted me, hey, who's going to win? And the one of the 2 times I've been wrong in 9 years, as I flip-flopped Mike Elsey and Russ Snyder's. I thought Mike Elsey was going to win on day 1, or EJ. EJ ended up finishing 3rd, and Mike Elsey finished 4th or 5th. And then Russ won that day. And then my buddy texted me, says, damn, dude, unless Mike Elsey wins tomorrow and you just flip-flopped, looks like you were a little off. And sure enough, he picked it, and it was like, damn, dude, what the hell? And I'm like, it's all about reading body language, reading demeanor, reading the pattern development that they're working on, getting out in the water and seeing them and running across them and knowing what I would do, and a lot of people don't think of me as a competitor. And for the last 6 or 8 years on my YouTube content, I've been trying to put the guests more forward. I've been, celebrating the dink drop and doing some of that shit, but people about to find out I can fish.
Mm-hmm.
People forgot, they forgot, that Dre song with Eminem, forgot about Dre. Well, they forgot about me. And also I was a gracious host last year, staying out of the good spots, letting the out of town.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And, and I was not as big of a competitor as I should have been. Well, from here on out, it's like ding, ding, mofos. Like, I'm not sandbagging for you. But I can tell you that knowledge comes from learning the most common characteristics. And I'll tell you something else. It literally translates to my time in the military, looking at people who are going to be successful in missions, people who are going to be successful in their career. The ones that are prepared with knowledge, and knowledge is power, always do better. And the ones that have confidence always do better. Well, where does your confidence come from? It comes from knowledge. It comes from that, that switch having been flipped. And it's funny you say this, because there's a standard saying in the world of everything. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert or a proficient at something. And when you cross that threshold, it's weird. Like a secret decoder ring is unveiled to you. And it's like if you're playing a video game where they run in and they hit the thing. I don't play video games, but I've just seen it on commercials and shit, like where the person has got like a force field around them and they can't die for like a minute and a half and they go back crazy.
It's the star on Mario Kart. Yeah.
It's like you cross that threshold because of confidence. And like, one of the things that I do is I go fishing, and a lot of times I'm just like motoring around, or I'm paddling around, or I'm drifting, and I'm not fishing. And I even had a good buddy of mine named Craig Dye one time. He said, "Man, I watch you fish and you never look like you're in a hurry, but then I look over and you're hooked up to a big fish. What the flip, And by the way, that's a compliment coming from Craig Dye, because Craig Dye is the best kayak angler that most people don't know. Meaning he's not out there like Russ and Christine Fisher and Cody Milton and Casey Reed and some of these other guys, Jody Queen, building a name for himself because he's a dad and he's had kids young and he's made that a priority. But that dude, hands down, is one of the most natural, talented anglers that I've ever met in my life. And so when he said this to me when we were out fishing one day, that was like one of the biggest compliments I've ever gotten. But I don't prospect a whole lot. I like to call my shots. You know what I mean? And I don't like to cast if I don't think I'm gonna catch a fish. Why should you cast if you don't think you're gonna catch a fish? Then why the hell did you cast there? And so I like to be very methodical and so one of the things that I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to get out there. I'm going to paddle around. I'm going to let my night vision adjust. I might sit there 30 minutes in some of these spots and never make a cast. I might go all night never catching a fish. I might even go all night not even making a cast, because a lot of times I'm actually waiting to see that fish's back easing along just out of the water. I'm looking for that wake. I'm looking for that little lily pad to move. I'm looking for that hydrilla mat to have a little bulge in it or something. And if I do prospect cast, it's only to prospect cast to get that reaction to move that fish. So then I can go, okay, now where I need to go to target that fish. And so one of the things that people don't think about is there are moon shadows. So when I'm full moon fishing, if I throw, and let's just say that this is the edge of a hydrilla mat, and I throw and I bring the lure down this side, and that fish goes a little whoop, and the moon's over here, I realized that shadow was this way. And so I didn't use every advantage. So I might ease over here and turn so that when I cast over here and I'm bringing the lure this way, the shadow's going ahead of the lure, which is letting the fish know it's coming, and then it gets ready, and I have a higher hookup ratio. So
you're next level, Chad. That is next level.
Just little shit like that. And you know what's funny? As I was fishing a reservoir probably 12 years ago when I first moved to Tennessee, and I came, and this is where I kind of took that from, because I was watching this old guy, and I pulled up to this bluff wall, and I started casting at this bluff wall, and I'd catch a fish every now and then. I'd watch him, he'd look around, I'd see him position his boat, and he'd look up, and then he'd make a cast, and boom, every time. So I finally went over, and I was like, it was an old timer. I said, "Hey man, what are you throwing that you're catching a damn fish like every cast? And then I see you like moving around and all this other stuff. He said, it doesn't really matter what I'm throwing. It's how I'm throwing it and where I'm throwing it. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, well, what you're doing is you're going over there and you're throwing right at the bluff wall and you're letting it fall down and you're reeling it out. So if you put it right between two fish's noses, you might get one of them to fight the other one over it. What I'm doing is I'm lining up with this bluff wall and I'm throwing my lure right here and the sun's over here. So this shadow is going down that wall. And he's like, you ever been out in the field and an airplane flies over, but you don't hear it yet? And you see the shadow going across the ground and you naturally know where to look? I said, yeah. He goes, fish are the same way. So what I do is I run that lure above the fish so that the shadow goes down that wall where they're suspended at. When they see that, they look up and they see the bait and then they take off and it creates a competitive fishing thing. He's like, and you can do that in shallow water, deep water. And I was like, God dang, dude.
Next level.
I've been doing that shit ever since. And I use it. Sometimes the shadow will spook them. Sometimes the shadow will not spook. You know, you have to play your sun angle game and your shadow angle more than anything else. And I've learned that with full moon fishing. If you're in 6 foot of water and your lure's going like this and the moon's over here at 20 degrees, your shadow's hitting the bottom like 20 feet away. So you play around with that. And then, I mean, it's basic math. It's like Pythagorean's theorem. If the fish are suspended a foot off and the water's 6 foot deep and the moon's at 20 degrees, you can do the math real quick and go, okay, I need to be 8 feet to the left of the target. And it works every time.
Did you just go Pythagorean theorem on my podcast? What is going on right now?
I'll tell you straight up, man. If I'm fishing next to you and we're throwing the same lure in the same conditions at the same time and I'm catching fish and you're not,
Pythagorean theorem.
Pay attention to how I'm positioning my boat relative to the sun, and that's probably the difference.
Where's the video on shadow fishing? I haven't seen.
I have one. I have a sun angle video. I don't do it that often because I look at it like I'm rewarding the people that really take the time to watch my stuff, but I'm not going to do it every 6 months.
I love it. Well, brother, thank you for your time. I have had a blast tonight. I always love having you on. But if you have not yet signed up for my team, Chad's team, I'll go and throw that Fishing Chaos link at the bottom of this video. You'll also see it in the podcast as well. Love for you to sign up, get involved in any team that you want. It's going to be a freaking blast. Chad, have a great night tonight out in the water, man. I look forward to seeing those donkeys you reel in on Instagram tomorrow morning.
Well, I don't always share all my fish, so sometimes I just do it for me. But like if you go look this video up right here, Kayak Bass Fishing, just the tip sun angle, I really get into it deep on that one. So
it's a minute long. How are you supposed to get into it deep?
There's another one right there called sun angle because it's really not that complicated. It really is.
You just Pythagorean theoried me. What do you mean it's not complicated?
It's not complicated, man. It's A squared, B squared, C squared. You know what I mean? It's real simple. And you ain't even got to be that precise. If the triangle's like this, it's like 5, 4. This one's 3. Simple. You know what I mean?
There you go. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that like button at the bottom. Get this some extra reach on YouTube. Also, head over to Debo's channel right now and light him up.
And Pond Boys.
Come on, guys. Let's make some commitments. It's going to be a blast. Who do I have next week? Baitman TV. We're going to be talking lures. I'm excited about that. And I got Debo the following week. So it's going to be a good time. Chad, brother, have a good one. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us tonight. I'll see you next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the KFO show. See ya.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.